absolutely love our very first conversation for today because it's about artificial intelligence. We all know that AI has moved out of labs to our living rooms, of course, to our office spaces and real estate. It's also moving us from blueprints to buildings, and it's revolutionizing design, enhancing construction efficiency. Most importantly, it's also helping all of us personalize customer journeys. So, to shed light on how AI is going to define the real estate of tomorrow, we have just the right person. He's a pioneer in the field. Please put your hands together, everyone, for founder and CEO of Kaizen AI, Mr. Shah.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey. It's a journey that I've been on for a few years now. But hopefully by the end of this presentation, I will convince those of you who do not agree to this, that this is true. It is not something that will pass. It is something which either you adapt or you die. And I don't mean this figuratively, I truly mean this. And I'll take you through what I feel on this. So I'll take you through two lenses and what has been my experience through it. So these are typical sort of through off project from feasibility all the way to construction. My background happens to be from about 2008 when I came across somebody who was talking about AI, and that's what I learned at university. And I happen to be an architect by profession, though not practicing all that much anymore. But through all these phases, there are AIs available to be able to do some of these things. And about 3 years ago, there is something called Google Delve. It's a prop tech that's built out by Google. I happen to be an InQB partner with them. I want to take you through my experience of what has been happening in the space and what I see happening ahead. Currently, 20% of man hours, and I'm talking about from the point of view of a typical design exercise, 20% of man hours typically happen here, 80% here. My father runs a 45-year-old architecture firm of some repute. And I find that what generally for one project would take 6 architects about a year to do that portion of a project, my belief is within the next 3 to 4 years, that will mean one architect doing it for 1 week, and that is a review. The work will not be done by man hours. This is not something that's science fiction. There are AIs currently that do it. They're not good enough to use in a professional setting. But there are already softwares that are doing these things. This gives a little background of where I come from. So that's Access Architects that's built. All the buildings in blue are done by that firm. And along with that partnership with Google, we realized very quickly that we need to adapt or die. The 20%, which is the front end, which is asking the questions, that needs to get stronger. So we actually went ahead and acquired an architecture firm with offices in Bangkok and Bangkok and Paris. That comes with a long history. The idea is that make sure that we get the best design talent to India. Let me take you through what Google Delve does. So feasibility, which is a very common thing that we all do, this is a software which is available today, which on Google Earth you can mark out, this is my piece of land. It asks you all the right questions. What are the open spaces? What is the setbacks? What is the program? What is the details, parking, metrics, what do you want to optimize, etc. In a couple of minutes, it spits out 30 options with detailed financial statements for each one of them. I have actually seen them improve this over the last 3 years, because every time they do anything new, we're talking to each other before they put it out in the public. I have seen how much of a change has happened. Again, would you use this on your project today? Probably not. Will you use it very, very soon, in a year, year and a half? Absolutely. It inherently changes the business of what an architect does. These are some results on a particular project in Worli. So what is it that we do? We still ask the right questions. And so this is the background of the design director of the firm that we've acquired, Sofitel New York, been in the New York Times a bunch of times. But this is a project in Mumbai where the brief was villas in the sky. That's the most common brief, we're doing skyscrapers, super luxury, etc. So he makes these beautiful sketches by hand. Again, the idea is important. But the idea is 3 slender towers, but we have these bars that actually become amenity zones, become mansions to themselves. The living room has a nice 5,000 square foot lawn in front of it, etc. About a week ago, something called Nano Banana came out. I don't know if you all have used it, but you put on this, and so on that, I gave that single image, what you just showed, which was a hand-drawn sketch. And I said, can you tell me what it would look like from the aerial view? It took 8 seconds to give me this. Now, this is not a rendering software. You've seen a lot of AI rendering softwares. This is now doing design, because it does not have all this information in it. It has just been given one image of someone's belief of what a building design should be. And it is filling in the dots. It's filling in the blanks. This is design. This would have taken somebody days to create. This has happened in 8 seconds. And this is, by the free to use. You can open your phone right now and use it. From there to there. What would it look like from the street? Because you don't know the street, right? I have not given any information on what the street looks like. It started imagining a retail zone. It started imagining a fatter podium where parking could be. I have given none of this information. It has created this information for itself. What would it look like in the golden hour? So it thought that, oh, we're in New York. It's an urban street. It actually filled in a whole bunch of blanks for it. But it's not in New York. It's actually in Mumbai by the sea. This is all happening in 7 to 8 seconds. Everything that I'm showing you. And please feel free to try this yourself. This is a free software, by the way. So then, we go by the typical architecture. We're doing the entire master plan, residential, hospitality, things that you start going into detail. Of course, AI cannot actually do all of the other stuff. So we designed all of that. We came up with what we would like the building to actually be like. So these things were done manually again. We gave all this information back to it. And again, if you see, most of the images are from zoomed out view. There's a certain understanding of a master plan. But we haven't really spoken about the retail promenade. What would that look like? 8 seconds. So I want to change that thought process that people have, that it is taking something we're giving and it is putting a pretty picture on it. That's not true anymore. Yes, you still need to guide it. Yes, you still need to tell it, this is where you go, not this, that. The initial idea still comes from you. You use it as a partner. not an employee. So while I go from that's my dad's business, I'll go into what all of you do, which is real estate development. I think we all know the biggest challenge we face is margins are tight, and we know the kind of risks that come along with real estate development. The challenge is, can we solve that? That's the biggest issue currently. So we built something called Kaizen AI, which is a real estate optimization software. We've done a few projects around the world right now. We've done about 180 projects. On average, we've been able to increase profitability, bottom line profitability, by about 10.46%. 10.46% is not a good to have for real estate development. It is survival. So let me take you through some background of how we're doing it. So we obviously take the inputs, which is what are the drawings, etc. This is not a generation tool, this is an optimization tool. So we take what is already done, which is you would have a set of drawings, you would have what are your expected costs, what are your expected revenues, a brief for what can and cannot change, all regulatory requirements. We run about 100,000 plus iterations on that baseline against certain parameters preset. And we take that and we create the most optimized version of that to be able to deliver these kind of profit numbers. So we do that in 28 days for most projects. You get your first set of results in 7 days. Typical projects design last 6 months to a year. This is 6 days, 7 days. So what is it we're optimizing? If you're able to increase saleable area, leasable area, reduce construction cost, reduce construction time. So often not spoken about. With that comes a lot of environmental benefits. Very important, this is without changing design contours or regulatory requirements. We work across 7 countries, including Miami, including Saudi. We're not coming in to change regulatory requirements. We stay true to the regulatory requirements to the design contours already done. How are we doing this? So there's something called multi-objective parameter optimization. So it's something which, in essence, finds the most balanced way across every possible iteration of a baseline. And what it does is it tells you have given it the numbers to know this is more valuable than that. Is there a way of changing this, changing that to be able to achieve that? So let me take you through an actual case study. This is a landmark project. This is for India's top developer by sales last year. Largest sales last year. This particular project for them is going to be their largest project by expected revenue in their entire history. So they, of course, got a team that matches that. So world-renowned architects, structural, MEP, with the top design and engineering teams within India. The idea is to do the best. When we got involved on the project, they'd spent a year and a half already in terms of design. It's a particularly challenging site. So that's a 300-meter tall tower with a 250-meter second tower and a 210-meter third tower. This is abutting Mahalakshmi Racecourse, which, if you know, that's Mumbai Central Park. The site touches that. At the bottom is a direct sea view. As you can imagine, particularly valuable site, super premium. The intent is the designer did everything he could to be able to maximize for view. The sales teams had spent a year with them to make sure that the apartments are just right, the views are just right. but it's a particularly challenging site because with that comes with a lot of density, which meant that to be able to do this, they needed to go almost 30 meters below ground. The challenge was at about 12 to 13 meters, you had hard rock and you're right next to the ocean. So that's about 2 more years just in terms of excavation. So kind of stuck in the middle, right? So if we were to define the problem statement, the design was done, they were happy with it. However, typically, for a project, you look at a carpet to construction ratio of about 2 to 2.25. This being a 300 plus meter tall building, outriggers, a lot of things get added to it. So the number here was 3.12. Now, over and above that, you were excavating about 18 meters into very hard rock because you had rock at about 12 meters. 18 meters into very hard rock, which is about 2 extra years. That's a lot of construction time. So you've done all of that work over the last year and a half, and you reach a point where you're like, we don't have an option. We can't go taller than 30 meters on podium. We need to go down. So they actually did a value engineered office option in-house where they added some mechanical parking. And they said, this is something better. We can actually not go 30 meters. Let's go 22 meters below ground. And we bring that down to 2.82. So this is kind of a happy balance, something we all do, right? As developers, you realize that, I want to do this, but this is what I can do. This is what makes sense. So from a sales perspective, you don't want this. No salesperson wants mechanical parking in a super premium project. So you have an issue here, which is actually a pure business versus sales issue, that you need lower construction cost and lower construction time. You cannot afford to spend that much time. My sales are going to get hampered because of that also. But the sales are like, no, we understand that, but we don't want mechanical parking. Now, all of the other technical guys have said, listen, we've given you both options. Pick one, which is what tends to happen in most of these projects. It's a very complicated project, etc. So actually, the problem is sales feasibility to business expectations. So you had everything was done. All basement outlined, services were planned, everything was completely done. So if you see the apartments are a little blurred, we've done that by this thing. So while approvals have come, it's not been completely launched. So at the request, we've slightly blurred the apartments. But anyway, we weren't supposed to touch the apartments. The apartments were solved. What were we looking to do? The common area. Now, common area is something which is fixed, right? You need certain number of elevators, certain number of staircases, certain size of elevators, certain size of staircases, fire and MEP requirements, structural requirements for a 300-meter building. This is what that plan of the 300-meter building looks like. What are you going to change? How do you knock out that 500, 600,000 square feet of construction area if you really can't change the apartments? You can't really change any slab outlines. What do you change? So we ran this through our platform and did a whole bunch of options. Just touching the common area, saying all the ingredients have to stay the same. Do not touch the apartments. What can we do? So we ran it. We came back with our first round in 7 days. Came back with our second round with a full set of plans in 14 days. After running, we ran more than 150,000 iterations on this project. After that, they came back with some comments. We integrated that. We did structure, MEP, resolved the whole thing, handed over the project in 45 days. The current team asked questions, how do you do this, structure, there's torsion here, etc. Resolved all that and moved out of the project. So you saw what the before looked like. I'm going to show you the project, that same tower, 300-meter tall tower, when we moved out of that project. Those apartments are the same. Same number of elevators, same number of staircases, same core requirements. We've reduced common area by 23.5% per floor. In Mumbai, as you may know, there's free of FSI core. The core on the left is free of FSI. The core on the right is free of FSI. In so many other parts of India, common area is actually part of FSI. Can you imagine the increase of saleable area when you reduce common area by that much? This is after structure, MEP, everything is resolved. This is what we handed over, and that's what went for approvals. Lift lobby width is the same. If you see, funnily, the area has reduced by 23.5%, but structurally, if you see where the center of gravity sits, is actually stronger. So we actually reduced steel consumption by 7.5% on this tower. So without touching the apartments, you've knocked out 23.5% of common area for a 300-meter tall building, and you've knocked out 7.5% of the main part of construction cost, which is steel quantity. Interestingly, the elevator placement actually is slightly better because of the free of FSI area. You end up having elevators all over. We were able to do it in a way which is bunched up that allows it to be slightly better from a customer centricity perspective. This is the second tower, which is 250 meters. Here they had a slight vastu issue with one of the apartments. Same challenge, resolved all of it. 22.5% reduction in common area with a 10% reduction in steel consumption. No change to apartments whatsoever. That's the third tower. That's a 15% reduction in common area with a 5% reduction in steel consumption. Now you had 30 meters of podium and 30 meters of below ground parking. You had a lot of parking. Number of parking needs to stay the same. Cannot change slab outline, cannot transfer structural members as per the new code. Client had qualitative requirements. Every developer feels, I want to do 6 meters one way. I want to give good space. I'm going to have Maybachs coming in, etc. And you have to resolve this with structure, MEP, traffic, everything. After resolving everything, what we handed over, same slab outline, 91 surface car parks became 133 surface car parks. Does anybody ever say, I want 10,000 square feet or 100,000 square feet in parking? They'll say, I want to park 100 cars, 2,000 cars, 300 cars. This is pure optimization. The width of the driveways have stayed the same. Traffic consultant is accepted. Obviously, size of cars stays the same. All the ingredients stay the same. But this is not value engineering. We're actually going beyond that. We're saying we want to ideally keep same quality or better. I unfortunately can't show you the layouts. Because of the way the core was set up, the column size is actually reduced. So for the same carpet area, we were actually able to go from an 11-foot living room to a 12-foot living room. Now, your RERA carpet is the same, so it's not a quantitative advantage. It's a qualitative advantage. But it's a huge qualitative advantage, right? If you're selling an apartment with 11-foot versus a 12-foot living room. Same thing, 24 feet becomes 25 feet 4. That's the impact on the project. This is when we handed over the project. So originally they were doing amenities under the apartments. Now they're doing a beautiful independent clubhouse where you see the badminton courts, etc. So of course that's being designed by the architect, but it allows them to do so many better things. It gives him the ability of freeing his arms and doing a beautiful independent clubhouse. 20% more lobby area, all qualitative. You're not selling this, but will it add value to the project? Absolutely. This was done manually. It was one of the apartments was looking towards this, so we kind of just rotated a little bit. The architect said, can we do that? The core shrunk, so we were able to do that. But we started with the numbers. Let's go back to the numbers. We had an option which said, you're at 3.12 with 2 years extra underground. Second option which said 2.6 million, 1 year extra underground. How do you balance the two? Value engineered option, but mechanical parking. Option 1, no mechanical parking. We reduced construction area by almost 5 lakh square feet. Have we changed apartments? If anything, qualitatively slightly better. The project as a whole hasn't really changed. You reduce 19.9% of construction area without changing design contours, without changing regulatory requirements. 3.12 construction loading became 2.6 construction loading, and we actually increased number of car parks. No excavation in hard rock. We finally ended with 12 meters of basement. That's it. We basically knocked out all of those basements. What is the value of saving 2 years of construction time on a project of this size? And we said, but we have the value engineered option. With the mechanical parking, we still are able to knock out about 4.7 lakh square feet of construction. Just think about what these numbers mean on an actual project. 2.54 from 2.82. And elimination of, again, our basements still come to 12 meters. We do not excavate into hard rock. Over and above all those things, which are the numbers, we actually reduced steel quantity by 7.85% on the project. We reduced concrete quantity, and these are by per square feet. Of course, we reduced steel and concrete because construction went down by 5 lakh. On a per square foot basis, steel and concrete quantity reduced. Same grade of concrete, by the way, same grade of steel. And qualitatively increased room dimensions, no mechanical parking, ground floor lobby by 20%, increase of amenity area with an independent clubhouse, better orientation of slab. Just, you know what they finally ended up doing? CEO was extremely happy, right? I can do no mechanical parking and still reduce 2 lakh square feet compared to the old mechanical parking option. Can you imagine what that is? He was originally doing mechanical parking of 37%. He's now not doing mechanical parking and still constructing 2 lakh less and still doing 45% less excavation compared to the mechanical parking option. This is about 12% of margin on a project. 12% of margin. AI is not about a fad, it is about survival. Think about it from an environmental perspective. What have we knocked out? We've knocked out common areas. We've knocked out parking areas. That actually tends to be, from an operating carbon perspective, from a maintenance perspective, that's what takes the most amount of carbon through the life cycle. So assuming a 75-year life cycle, we do a detailed sustainability report. We reduced carbon impact of this project through its life cycle by 34%. 34%. We talk about sustainability all the time. This is the kind of impact we're seeing. It, of course, is hugely valuable when we go for green funding, finance options, etc. We've been very lucky. We've had some great clients, so they speak nice things about us. The CEO of that company talking about us, it's on YouTube. We've just been lucky with people we've partnered with more than anything else. We've taken this everywhere, so we work across 7 countries, across 18 cities. So that's right by the marina in Miami. That's a $70 million US difference. That's the Ritz-Carlton residence in Clearwater, Florida. That's Fort Lauderdale. That's Dubai. That's a commercial building and hospitality in Navi Mumbai, which is complete now. They've reduced construction time by about 45%, by the way, over and above of reducing 12% of construction area and 15% of increase in leasable area. And again, Goregaon. So it's not something that's new. We've been at it for a good 6-7 years. A lot of people in the audience have actually possibly already worked with us before. And we've seen this happen across the country. So not only internationally, but we work across NCR, Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore, and we've seen some incredibly results. We've now done more than 180 projects. We tangibly look at what is the tangible profit. We tangibly look at what the emissions are. Just on the 180 projects we've worked on, we found almost a difference of carbon, as if every airline in the world were to stop operations for 9 months. That's the amount of carbon only our company has been able to reduce. Just over 180 projects. Imagine if we had scale. Just imagine if we have scale when we are able to do this across cities. That's what we're all building. How do we do it in a more sustainable, more efficient manner? The other thing we do is that we're a partner with our clients. We don't want to take a fee. We don't want to, of course, it's incredibly expensive to run, etc. But we're partners. We say, whatever tangible value we bring on a project, which is acceptable to our client, we take a part of it. So we work with you, we're on your side to make sure that it is successful. Just think about it. We've been talking a bit about the company, but just think about that. Think about what a 10% increase in profitability means on a project. It's survival. And so we've been lucky. We've been now engaged on more and more projects where they want us to come in at feasibility level, where projects sometimes are not feasible to pull up. So, typically when you look at a project, earlier on there's a challenge, right? That how do you hit the numbers for a deal to make sense? On this project, we were able to increase the carpet area by 1.1 lakh square feet compared to the stretch efficiency goal, not where they were. When you have a deal, you don't have something closed. You have, boss, the deal is feasible at this number. Compared to that, we increased by 1.1 lakh square feet. At the same time, reduced construction area by 1.93 lakh square feet. Another project, which is, as you can imagine, right next to the airport, height restriction very heavy, very challenging in terms of consumption, being slum rehab. The feasibility was 72% to 73% of consumption, if it's possible. Of course, don't want larger than a certain size of apartments, don't want overlooking. We were able to increase 2.7 lakh square feet of carpet here. So again, Kaizen doesn't do any design. Here, what we do is that we have a sister company that my father runs. They do design, we optimize, give it back to them, optimize. So this could just as well happen with anybody else. But imagine the numbers here. We started with this. We're at 10 to 15% margin on a good day. Imagine the impact that another 10% would add. And this is on average. We've been able to do far higher. The projects you've seen have been higher, actually. Imagine what that value could be. I hope I've convinced you through this presentation. It is not a fad. It is adapt or die. Each developer sitting in this auditorium today has three options. Either you create the edge, you partner for the edge, or you fall by the wayside. Who would you like to be? Not 5 years later, today. This is something that we're seeing, so we've opened up a few slots just to be able to actually apply, because, as we speak to people today, they say, no, that's fine for other people. On my project, this is not going to work. I want to end with this. We've been having a lot of discussions about, US putting tariffs on us, etc., and we tend to consume their capital, we tend to consume their products, we tend to consume so many things from them. And right from here, I was invited to speak at one of the largest real estate tech conferences called Blueprint in Las Vegas. And I'm incredibly proud that an Indian company, an Indian-built company, Yes, learned from the US, studied in the US, worked in the US, but this is built out of India, has been able to take innovation to the world. Jai Hind.
What an incredible way to begin day two, Jay. Thank you so much for talking to us about how we can seamlessly integrate AI driven optimization in the design of today and of tomorrow. I'd like to invite Mr. Sunil Furde and Mr. Rajesh Sheth to please join us on stage to present a token of our gratitude to Mr. Jay Shah. What we're presenting to Mr. Shah today, along with, of course, a token of our appreciation, is also a book titled Office Secrets, authored by our speaker of today and best-selling author of 7 books, Mr. Harish Bhatt, who will be joining us in the due course of the day, a session that's clearly going to be one of the highlights of day 2. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Jay Shah once again? Thank you. Thank you very much.